In Between. Episode 2. By AMAH'S. She sat with her friend, Jane, who visited her that weekend, as they went on and on gisting like bestie. Vero, you should be excited. Like, seriously. Many will be jumping with excitement if they were in your shoes right now. You dated Martin for close to 3 years and he never gave you a ring or asked you to marry him. Pete showed up like an angel into your life, and after few weeks of knowing each other and dating, he asked you to marry him. This is wonderful. I don't understand why you're worried or wearing a long face as if he was forcing you to marry him. Or did he force you? No, Jane, marrying Pete isn't the problem because I love him too, but I don't know if God approves. He seems too good to be true, and the whole proposal thing happened so soon. Jane sighed impatiently and said, "Will you rather want to wait for a whole year or two until he probably gets tired? See another woman and pursue his fantasy. Some men are like that. When they're bored in a relationship, they start thinking of trying new things. Is not all men though. And I know God who brought Pete on your way and make him propose as a good and kind God. If he didn't approve of it, Pete wouldn't have met you. That guy is not only wealthy, he is too fine and generous. The other day he took us out and ended up shopping a bag full of wares and jewelries for me. You better cheer up and start thanking God, because a man like Pete is hot cake. And girl, you love good things. Even though you work and make your own money, but having a man spoil you feels heavenly. I'm also a lover of gifts and wouldn't want to come around and won't be able to relax, eat, drink anything I like, plus an even take-home present too." Jane began to giggle as she lifted her drink glass to her mouth. Veronica chuckled. "You're right. Pete is God sent, and I shouldn't worry over anything because this is the pure blessings of the Lord, and there's no sorrow to it. He's coming tonight with my engagement ring. He ordered one of the most expensive ring online and will be presenting it to me later tonight. You are invited. I would have sued you if I was left out of the show. I'm already planning on the dress to wear as your chief bridesmaid." She stood up and started demonstrating, making Veronica to laugh even more. That evening Pete showed up and took Veronica and Jane out. He already booked down VIP table and had drinks ordered. He brought out the expensive diamond glistering ring and gave to Veronica. Seeing the diamond ring left Jane's mouth open. Even Veronica was dumbfounded too. They cheered to the new beginning that was about to take place. After eating and drinking, he drove them back home. He dropped Jane at her place before driving Veronica home. He decided to stay over and didn't go back to his place that night. He made attempt in getting intimate, but Veronica was not okay with that. "Vero, we're engaged already and about to get married. What's the turn-off for again? You are my wife, it remains to make it official. I don't understand what is keeping us away." Okay. You're right. I want this as much as you do, but after I break up with my ex, I made up my mind to remain celibate until I meet my husband. Is over a year now before I finally met you. I already told you my reasons for not wanting to get intimate before now. And like you said, we're as good as married, right? They got intimate that night and early the following morning. Veronica was already tired and couldn't prepare for church on time. Pete asked for a full meal breakfast and Veronica, who was out to please her husband to be, had no choice than to prepare the meal. After eating, she decided to dress up for church. She had never gone to church late before. It's unlike her to miss Sunday programs. She sometimes handles the Sunday school for teenage class. Going late today is unlikely, but God understand. As she was getting dressed, Pete came and grabbed her from behind. You can't possibly leave me alone in the house and go to church. Come, let's go together then. It's good to be in the presence of the Lord, and you will be delighted that you came. Since we're going to be a couple, it's better we get involved with the things of God so that our home will be blessed. Pete turned her over to face him. He kissed her and said, "You know what, honey? You're right. I'm a church boy too, and a very godly person. Maybe work and few other things kept me away, and having you by my side will make all the difference. But looking at the time, you're already late for service. Maybe you should stay home today with me. We can both go next week. Since I'm here, at least that's a big reason for you to stay home." Pete finally convinced Veronica in staying back. They went back to bed and continued from where they stopped last night. When people from the church called later in the day to find out why she wasn't in church, Veronica lied that she went out just to avoid any of them coming over to check up on her. The following day she got ready for work, and Pete had a thing to say over that. "I don't like my woman working for anybody. Don't get me wrong, I like the fact that you are independent and career-driven, but since I have enough that can last us a lifetime, is of no use stressing yourself. After we get married, you will remain home, more like a housewife, and if we happen to have a baby, then taking care of the house and the child will be a full-time job for you. I don't think that's a good idea, darlin'. I can still care for my home while working. Working does not limit my ability in becoming a good wife or even a mom. I enjoys making my own money, and I really don't know how to stay home and do nothing." Pete drew her closer to himself. "You will finally get used to staying home, honey. Beside, what is the point of working since I will be providing enough for the house? I can pay you for staying home, and in that way you will still be making your own money since that's what you enjoys doing. All I'm concerned is that I want to come home every day to my lovely wife with no wrinkles or stress line on her face. Baby, I love you and I want to give you the best. You're my queen, Vero. You need to be treated as such. I want my woman for me, not for the entire world. And that's the reason a lot of things will be cut down if we have to be together." She nodded and went on getting ready for work. Veronica does not always like Pete coming over to her place and spending weeks. What if one of her church members or pastor visit and met Pete? They will start thinking that she was living in sin with a man who isn't her husband yet, and that is part of what she teaches against in the teen class. She wished it was the other way round. Going over to his place, but Pete had told her before that due to the way he travels and mostly on the road, he had not been able to settle down and get a stable place. He was either lodging in a hotel or in one of his company's provided accommodations for staffs only. That was the reason he wants to get married and have a home that he can always come back to. Veronica believed him. It's a matter of a little time and they will become husband and wife. She told Pete not to worry, that things will eventually work itself out when they gets married. She continued working and did not stop. Pete, who later went back to his place, still comes around with different gift for her within the week. He later traveled and did not come back for about 2 months, but he communicate with Veronica over the phone with every given opportunity. Jane is mostly around by weekend. Veronica is always happy having her gist partner around. She told Jane of what Pete said concerning working and becoming a full-time housewife. That's romantic. I mean, you only needs to stay home and do nothing. Pete is such a gentleman. He doesn't want you to pick a pin. Most women will kill to be in your shoes. The only thing I see here is a man who loves his woman and want her only to himself. But wait a second. Hope he didn't mention that you will also stay away from me, because that's where I will blow hot and go to war with him. Veronica laughed and replied, not at all. He wouldn't say that because he knows how important you're in my life. Silly you. Sometimes, Jane, everything about Pete and our togetherness will feel so good and heavenly, but sometimes it feels awkward. The rules he wants me to follow is not my kind of person. Not that I can't do them, but I'm not that kinda lady. Pete is not in a haste for us to get married again. Is over 5 months. He engaged me within a month of meeting, but I have wore this engagement ring for about 5 months and already getting intimate with him when I shouldn't have. You know that I'm a church praying girl. But ever since after meeting Pete, everything seems a little different. Maybe I'm overreacting. I love Pete dearly and he loves me too. That's all that matters, right? Start getting used to the new wealthy lifestyle. You're 27, Vero, already engaged and waiting to get married. What else do you want? At least you got a ring from a man who adores you and will get married in his time and terms. Your ex took almost 3 years of your life and still left you with nothing. Pete only took few weeks and made all the difference. You need to do everything to keep him. Sex isn't supposed to be a problem. You gave it freely to Martin, and after he left you vowed to remain celibate until you get married. You can't possibly deny Pete intimacy. What if he goes out there and gets it from another woman? That will be a heavy blow and your relationship won't be solidified like it is now. Relax, girl, you're still young and can explore a little more before walking down the altar and living according to Pete's rules. They talked a lot of other things before Jane later left. Pete returned from his journey with lots of goodies for Veronica. He stayed for 2 weeks with her before traveling again. After few more weeks, Vero discovered that she was pregnant. Pete does not appear serious again with the whole marriage thing like he was before he engaged her and they started sleeping together. Anytime she raised the topic, he will tell her to relax. They will be married, but she does not see it as part of his agenda anymore. And now she was pregnant. Where will she hide her face? The church will know that she does not practice what she preach. Even the teenagers that she was teaching the right way will be discouraged. Her pastor will be totally disappointed. Even though they already know that she was engaged and has been for several months, but that is not a guarantee to start having sex with her man and even getting pregnant for the same man that don't even appear serious again in getting married to her. Or could it be that Pete only wanted to use the engagement to be getting under her pants because she told him that she can't sleep with a man until she was married? What if Pete is a fleet that isn't serious with one woman? Veronica suddenly began to pray against those thoughts cycling her mind and scaring her off. Even after praying, she was still scared and uncertain of what to do since she was already pregnant with Pete's child. What will Pete say about the pregnancy? Her fears grows with each passing minute.
You don't finish it. Stop. Wait.